Prepare to have your health questions answered here on Safe, Effective Natural Solutions with Dr. Todd Binkley, owner of Binkley Healing Center in downtown Ventura. Now, here's Dr. Todd.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Todd Binkley, non-forced doctor of chiropractic and practitioner of functional medicine. I've got an exciting show for you today. More good news about caffeine, the benefits of caffeine, and the profound connection between your gut and your brain. So I put on this show each week to arm you with information you can use to find solutions where they're lacking. If you know someone, who do you know? Or perhaps yourself even, who's been to the doctor, had blood work done, had all kinds of tests done maybe, and you have a little fatigue or brain fog or just something doesn't quite feel right. And all the doctors have said there's nothing wrong. We've done all your tests and you're fine. Go home, come back when you've got a disease that requires medical care. And, they don't phrase it like that, but that is the practice of medicine, and there's nothing wrong with it. The practice of medicine is really important, and most medical doctors are busy treating medical conditions that require medical care. So what does that mean? Well, most people think when they go in for their annual physical, they think if they get their blood work done, number one, they think their doctor is checking everything. Put air quotes around that. He checked everything. That's just never true. No doctor ever checks everything because checking everything is medically unnecessary. Doctors come up with a preliminary diagnosis based on your case history, based on the things you tell them, and based on the things he or she observes when they speak with you. They come up with an idea of what they think you have, and then they do tests necessary to confirm that preliminary diagnosis. They do not go looking for everything because insurance companies won't pay for that and that's the main reason. But also, it's not what they do. They're looking to see if you have a medical condition that requires medical care today. They are certainly not ever looking to see if you are truly healthy. That's not the purpose of a medical evaluation. It's to see if you need medical care today. So if you want to know if you're truly healthy, what's the difference? You have to do a few more tests, or maybe more than a few. You have to do many more tests oftentimes because it's really easy to do a short list, a metabolic panel and a CBC, and check your cholesterol, make sure your liver and your kidneys are working, to rule out liver disease, to rule out diabetes, to rule out an impending heart attack or a stroke, to rule out an infection. Those are the main things they're looking for. That's really easy to do. It's really easy to diagnose, to observe on a blood test. If you have weaknesses in your system, if you have a challenge where your immune system is struggling, just not up to par, that's more difficult to find, in part because when they look at your white blood cell, most doctors look at your white blood cell count, they're only looking to see if it's elevated, which is a sign of an acute infection. But what if your white blood cell count is low? What if your immune system can't keep up with the demand put upon it by some long-term, lingering, low-grade infection that has no symptoms, no headache, no nausea, no fever, no feeling like you're sick? Maybe the only symptom, if there is any, is that you feel just a little bit fatigued. That's very, very common, and it shows up, among other places, as a reduced white blood cell count. A white blood cell count in the low 5s or the 4s or in the 3s even, and that's just not normal. Most doctors ignore it, but it means that there's some kind of stress on your immune system that needs attention, and that attention does not require antibiotics. It's usually just something that can be fixed with usually just supplements. So a chronic means long-lasting, doesn't mean bad, mild, strong. It just means it's been there for a long time. Chronic infection is a very common cause of undiagnosed cause of fatigue. So who do you know that just doesn't feel like they have the energy that they should for their age? Who do you know that just feels fine? Maybe it's yourself. You feel you seem like you're perfectly healthy most of the time. You eat right, you exercise, you don't have a lot of stress in your life, but still you're just constantly dragging, and hence maybe drinking 4 or 5 or 6 cups of coffee a day just to get through the day, or maybe eating sugar, fueling a sugar craving to get through the day because your energy's always dragging. Well, coffee doesn't give you energy. Caffeine doesn't give you energy. Sugar doesn't give you energy. Your body produces energy from food in a complex chemical reaction. Stimulants just jangle your nerves. They make your nerves more alert, so you feel more alert. You feel like you have more energy, but that obviously, or most people know that has long-term effects, which are not so good. But on the plus side, we're going to get back to the headline for today. Coffee is good. Sometimes you see studies that say, one day coffee's good, next day coffee's bad. And coffee's never bad, never has been bad. No study has ever proven that there's anything wrong with drinking coffee. Definitively, the problem is if you're already overdosed on stimulants and you add coffee to that, or other things that people think are the same as coffee or tea, like guarana, other stimulants that are most usually bad, then it can cause problems. Artificial sweeteners in conjunction with coffee and other caffeinated beverage causes a lot of problems. But regular old good coffee, a couple of cups a day, are not only okay, they're actually beneficial. People who have a couple of cups of coffee or tea a day are usually healthier, have lower risks of many diseases, including dementia, than people who drink no coffee. So that's why I'm excited about this study, Daily Coffee Tied to Brain Benefits, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Dr. Dong Wang and colleagues at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston and his colleagues followed 86,000 women in the National Institutes in the NHS from 1980 to 2023, and 45,000 men in the health practitioners follow-up study from 1986 to 2023. So all of these people didn't have cancer, didn't have Parkinson's disease or dementia at baseline. They filled out food frequency questionnaires every 2 to 4 years, and the baseline age when they started was 46 years to 53 years in between the two studies. And over the follow-up period, 11,000 participants had a dementia diagnosis identified by their death records and physician diagnoses. So over a median follow-up, the median period of the average follow-up was 37 years. Health professionals in the highest quarter of coffee drinking had an 18% lower risk of dementia compared with those who drank little or no coffee. The top coffee drinkers also showed a reduced prevalence of subjective cognitive decline and modestly better cognitive performances. So these are just different ways they describe different aspects of testing your brain's ability to function and certain risk factors and signs of early dementia, standard tests. So approximately 2 to 3 cups of caffeinated coffee or 1 or 2 cups of tea were associated with the lowest risk of dementia. So I'll say that again. 2 to 3 cups of regular caffeinated coffee or 1 to 2 cups of tea were associated with the lowest risk of dementia. And similar patterns emerged for subjective cognitive decline and optimal cognition. So this is around 300 milligrams of caffeine. No advantages were seen with higher coffee intake. And importantly, decaffeinated coffee, which has about 3% compared to regular coffee, 3 to 5% caffeine that the regular coffee has. Decaf coffee was not associated with lower dementia risk or better cognitive performance. Now, this is not the first study to show relationships between coffee or tea and cognition, but it is one of the largest and longest, with 131 participants from the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study in Britain, and up to 43 years that they followed these people. But another great one was in 2024, a study of 8,500 biobank participants. This is the ongoing study that's done on patients in Britain following their records, showed that moderate coffee intake predicted less fluid intelligence decline. This is another one of the standard measures of cognition, of cognitive performance, over 8.8 years. But drinking 4 or more cups offered no added benefit. So the sweet spot is 2 to 3 cups a day. And high tea consumption, more common in the UK, was also tied with better performance. So both coffee and tea contain bioactive compounds, including polyphenols and caffeine. And coffee is associated with lower risk of cardiovascular disease mortality and all-cause mortality. It may also play a protective role in Parkinson's disease. So to recap, drinking 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day or 1 or 2 cups of tea a day, because of compounds in the tea as well as the caffeine itself, reduces your risk of multiple measures of cognitive decline leading to dementia, creates a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, death, and all causes of death. And it also is looking like there's studies suggesting that it plays a protective role in Parkinson's disease. I'm Dr. Todd Binkley. You're listening to safe, effective, natural solutions to almost any health challenge. You can reach me anytime if you have questions. I love fielding questions and answering them. You can email me at drbinkley@binkleyhealingcenter.com. Dr. Binkley at Binkley, Binkley, healingcenter.com. You can even text me. My cell is 805-218-3939. You may ask, how can I give out my cell on the air and not be inundated? Well, my cell ring, my phone on the ringer on my cell phone is always off, just so you know. If you want to speak to me on the phone, I'm sorry, I never answer the phone. You got to leave me a message. If you preferably send me a text or an email and say, please call me. I'm happy to talk on the phone. I get so many messages a day that I can't answer it when it rings. I leave the ringer off, but I notice when it lights up, and if you send me a text, I'll answer pretty quickly, and an email a little bit slower, and a voicemail. I've been missing voicemails, so I'm sorry. I'll apologize in advance if you leave a voicemail. I promise I will return it, but it might be a while. So please text or email me, Dr. Binkley at BinkleyHealingCenter.com, or 805-218-3939 to text me your questions, anything you'd like to know about how you can improve your health without drugs and surgery. What is going on with you? What is something that's just not feeling right, that you've been to several other clinicians and you're just not getting the care that you feel you deserve, or you're just not feeling the way that you should feel, maybe the way you used to feel only a year ago or only 5 years ago. When something like that is happening, it usually means that you don't have to completely change everything in your life. You don't have to restore your health to the way it was in your 20s, maybe. All we have to do is get you as healthy as you were a year ago, or as healthy as you were 2 or 3 or 5 years ago. And then you feel great again. Sometimes people call that a miracle. A miracle is just something that is really dramatic. People get really excited about it, and they don't know how to explain it. But there usually is a way to explain it, and I'm happy to provide that explanation. Chronic fatigue is one of the most common things people come to me complaining about. This is one of the main things people are seeking solutions for. What does that mean? Chronic doesn't mean good or bad, strong or minor. It just means something that's been there for a long time, like chronology. Chronic fatigue, long-lasting fatigue with no explanation, never, in my experience, never has a single cause. People want to know the one thing that's making them tired. There isn't one. There's usually almost always a half a dozen, and not infrequently a dozen or more things that are contributing to fatigue, and they fly under the radar. They don't show up on a standard medical evaluation. They are commonly things like I mentioned before, a chronic infection, a low-grade infection, that a bacteria or a virus that your immune system has never been able to completely fight off, which among other ways shows up as a low white blood cell count on a CBC. Other common causes are mild anemia, so mild iron deficiency, mild deficiencies of folate and B12 and B6. These are very, very common. Again, they do not show up on a standard medical workup because the ranges used to detect them on a CBC, on a complete blood count, are below the standard medical ranges. So if you have an iron deficiency, most doctors also never check your ferritin level. Ferritin is the body's storage form of iron. So most doctors don't even do a CBC unless they suspect an infection. So I see this all the time because I run a CBC on everyone. I also check ferritin on everyone. But you can have a normal red blood cell count, normal hemoglobin level, normal hematocrit, the three main tests of whether or not your body's making adequate red blood cells and enough oxygen carrying capacity that if it was diminished would constitute a diagnosis of anemia, mainly iron deficiency anemia. But you can have a normal on all three of those tests and have a low ferritin level, and you have iron deficiency anemia. It's not showing up in the CBC yet, but if your storage tank is empty, that just means your bone marrow is struggling, just barely keeping up with production, even though you're giving it very little of the main material it needs, namely iron, to do it. And that's going to have the same symptoms. That's going to cause fatigue. That is going to cause ultimately going to cause inability for your body to adequately supply consistent oxygen supply to every part of your body, which of course is necessary 24/7, 365. So ferritin, this storage form of iron, I test this on everyone because I see abnormalities on it so frequently. Sometimes it's really, really low. Then you know someone has iron deficiency. You need to fill that tank. But also iron overload. This happens more often in men than in women. But a lot of people have a genetic SNP, about 15, or it's not quite 15%. There's a certain percentage of people that have a genetic alteration that predisposes them to hemochromatosis, iron overload. And that is a gene test that's available. We can do that. It's about $300 last time I checked to confirm. But really all you need to do if you have iron overload is donate blood. If it's not super elevated, then you can just donate blood like anybody else. You're doing a favor for other people and you're sloughing off a little bit of excess iron. But what if it's really, really high? I just had a patient last week that came in and her ferritin was over 3,000. That is super, super high, and it's causing damage to her liver. It causes increased risk of heart disease, and that is also signs of that are also showing up on her blood test. So I had to send her to a specialist to order what's called therapeutic phlebotomy, where they order weekly for several weeks a blood draw and just dump it because it's too much iron to put into the donated blood supply. And they just have to withdraw blood, continue withdrawing blood once a week for a few weeks until that ferritin level comes down to normal. So most of the time when it's a little bit elevated, you can just donate blood and then it's fine. But when it's this high, it requires special treatment. So iron deficiency and folate and B12 is the other common cause of anemia. Your body requires iron to make red blood cells. It also requires folate, the B vitamin folate, folic acid, and vitamin B12. Also a little bit of B6. A few people are deficient in B6, but deficiencies in B12 are super, super common, as well as folate, and they work together. So if you're ever going to take vitamin B12, it only makes sense to take them in combination, the two of them together, folic acid and B12, and the correct form of them. So a lot of people think that they need to get B12 shots, or they just like getting B12 shots because it gives them a boost in energy. Well, the reason it gives them there's a couple of reasons, but one of the main reasons is people are slightly anemic and don't know it. Even testing serum levels of B12. You see this too. Medical doctors often order this. People bring in, my B12. They call me up. My B12 level, my blood level of B12 and folic acid or folate is off the charts. Is that bad? Not if you're supplementing. If you're supplementing folate and B12 at all, then it's just pointless to do a blood test because it will always come back high. And that doesn't matter because most people struggle to absorb the amount of folate and B12 that they consume for a whole host of reasons. I could do a whole hour talk just on that, but it involves a common gene SNP that people have, MTHFR, that impairs their ability to absorb these vitamins, insufficient hydrochloric acid in the stomach, insufficient or disrupted loss of normal insufficient bacteria in the gut. Your body has to break down B12 in the stomach, and then it's not completely absorbed until the way down to the other end of the lower intestine and where bacteria are involved. So there's a whole host of things that have to happen for your body to be able to absorb B12. That's why just even, if you eat liver or a lot of beef, you're getting it in your food, but you may not be absorbing it. And just taking a capsule of B12 and swallowing it may also not give you the amount you need. So the best way to take it, you don't need a shot. It's fine to take a shot, especially if your gut is disrupted, if you have severe nausea or inflammation in your gut, cancer patients. There's some people that for whom it's a good idea to get a B12 shot. But most people that just want to get more energy, you can take the sublingual form, the active form of B12, which is called methylcobalamin. Read your labels. 99.9% of supplements have cyanocobalamin because it's cheap. That's the cheap form of B12. Your body has to convert that into methylcobalamin. So if you just get a supplement that already has methylcobalamin in it, no conversion is required. It's the active form, and you hold it under your tongue. It dissolves and goes directly into your bloodstream the same way a vitamin B12 shot does, just in much less amounts. But a little bit every day under your tongue is the best way to go for most people. For more information about this, contact me anytime. Email me, Dr. Binkley at binkleyhealingcenter.com. You can text me at 805-218-3939. Another good place to go is I created a separate website because it's such a common concern and condition. People have so many questions about it. For fatigue, it's called fatiguefreeliving.com. So write that down. Go check it out. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. fatiguefreeliving.com. You can look at that. This explains several of these other causes of fatigue, which are just all over the place. People don't know they have these things. They're always surprised. Fatigue is never caused by one thing. It's caused by many small things adding up to create the fatigue that most people are commonly feeling. And so there's a handout that you can get there. You can email me, you can text me, or you can go to that website. There's a place to punch in your name, and I'll send you the 12 most commonly overlooked causes of fatigue. And they are insufficient protein. So protein is the basic building block of every cell in your body. And it is because of recent changes in the popular press and a whole host of reasons. Most people are more aware than ever of the need to eat sufficient protein. It's important to eat good protein, but what I'm not hearing from in various media and such is just eating. I don't think there's enough awareness out there. Here it is now. I'm telling you, tell your friends, what you are not what you eat. You are not what you eat. You are what you consume, what you swallow, and then your body has to break down and absorb into your bloodstream. So just swallowing food, just swallowing enough protein doesn't mean your body is getting enough protein. Think of your digestive tract as a tube that goes from one end to the other that is not inside your body. It's just a pipe it's like with a kind of a conveyor belt on the outsides of that pipe, pushing food through, digesting it, hopefully assimilating the most important parts of it, and then producing waste that is eliminated. Well, nothing is part of you until it escapes that tube and enters your body. Your digestive tract is physiologically outside your body. It is not part of your body. It is not inside your body. It does not become part of your physiology until it crosses this membrane in the small intestine and enters your bloodstream. So many people, I see this all the time, probably 30 or 40% of all the patients who come to me, they have functional low levels of protein. Oh, but I went to my doctor 3 weeks ago or last year, whenever. He said he didn't say anything about my protein being low. Again, there's this huge difference between the standard medical range, which is from roughly 6 something to 8 something or higher is the standard medical range for protein. But you want your protein level for most people, most adults, to be 7 point something. 6.8 for most adults is too low, and 6.6 or 6.4 or 6.2, which I see all the time, is really, really low and has profound effects on your body, among them inability to heal, inability to heal and repair any part of your body, scars or wounds that won't heal, bones that won't heal, any part of your body that just doesn't heal as quickly as it should after an injury. Athletes recovering from things that used to recover from more rapidly when they were younger, insufficient protein. And the cause is often not that you're not eating enough protein. Some people don't eat enough protein, but that's less and less common recently. The most common cause is insufficient hydrochloric acid in the stomach. This often surprises people, so I'll say it again. The most common cause of insufficient protein in your bloodstream, you're eating enough protein, but it's not entering your system, is insufficient acid in your stomach. And why does that surprise people? Because a lot of people think, well, I know I've got too much acid in my stomach. That's why I have to take Tums or omeprazole or Prilosec or Prevacid or Nexium or one of a dozen other acid-blocking drugs, because you think you've got too much acid in your stomach. Your stomach never makes too much acid. I'll say that again. Your stomach never makes too much acid. You want your stomach to be a boiling cauldron of strong, bubbling acid. Create that as a visual. That's what you need to digest protein and calcium and magnesium and B12 and a whole host of other vitamins and minerals. You need strong acid in your stomach. That's its purpose. What you don't need is even a single drop of that acid leaking up into your esophagus. There is a valve that prevents that acid from leaking up into your esophagus. That is always closed. Every time you swallow a bite of food, it hits that valve, which then it opens and allows the food to pass into your stomach and then automatically closes again. But you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't close down tight unless there is strong acid in your stomach. It's a brilliant feedback loop. That thing doesn't need to be closed, locked down tight all the time. It only needs to lock down tight when there's strong acid in your stomach. So guess what happens when you take antacids? It prevents that thing from locking down tight, and it just buffers the acid and destroys your body's, doesn't completely destroy, dramatically reduces your body's ability to absorb essential nutrients. So we're running out of time. We'll have to talk more about this next week. As always, thank you for listening. Send me your questions and have a fabulous weekend.
You've been listening to Safe, Effective Natural Solutions with Dr. Todd Binkley. If you have a health question you want discussed on the show, email your health questions to Dr. Binkley at binkleyhealingcenter.com. Take advantage of this opportunity to ask questions for yourself and for your loved ones, because our health matters. Tune in every Friday at 2 p.m. and Saturdays at 3:30 p.m. for Safe, Effective Natural Solutions, right here on 98.3 FM, The Word.